Hi, Libby. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Do you want me to present my screen?
Just a second.
Sure, sure.
Do that.
एक second. Have you made me the moderator?
Yeah, you are the co-host.
Okay, okay. Gotcha. Tell me what. Can you see it? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Is this echo?
Is YouTube live? Yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'll just try changing a few slides.
Mm-hmm. Working.
Great. So you're letting people in now?
Yeah, I can start letting them in.
Okay, okay. I'll
You
just
switch off your video till then.
yeah.
We'll start sharp at 6.
Yeah. We don't wait for 2 or 5 minutes extra.
All right, we'll wait till 6:05 then.
All right. So I'll just keep this presentation on and turn off these things for now. All right. A very good evening to everybody. We'll just wait for another 5 minutes so that people might join in, and I just request everybody to please bear with me for just like 5 moments, and then we'll start right away. Thank you. All right. A very good evening to everybody here. First of all, the very basic question. I hope I'm visible, audible, and you guys can see what's on your screen. If all three of them are in the positive notion, please let me know. That would be great. All right, that's fantastic. So let's just start right away. We already have more than 100 plus participants, I guess. So yeah, starting with very good evening to all of you present here. My name is Indraneel, and we welcome you all to Memo Pundits workshop on the art of writing legal research papers. Now, if you're mistakenly here for thinking that it is a research paper on general research papers and not legal, then please don't worry, because the basic agenda is pretty much the same. And today we would be covering and touching upon a lot of crucial aspects related to legal research and writing. And don't worry, we won't bore you with all that stuff like doctrinal research, what's empirical research. And we'll try to touch upon the topics which are very much actionable and how do we go about writing and pretty much all the basic nitty-gritties of writing a legal research paper. So sit back, relax. A few things which I'd like to tell you before we start right away. Firstly, guys, this PPT which you're seeing right now won't be shared with you. So make sure that you take snapshots or pictures wherever you deem fit. You're absolutely allowed to do that. But we won't be able to share this presentation right away because for obvious reasons, we didn't have a few great past experiences and we often see our own very PPT getting used somewhere else. So for security reasons, we won't be able to share the presentation. And then moving on, if you have any questions whatsoever on any of the topics that we'll be covering today, please jot them down or write them and keep them with you, because at the end of the workshop, we'll be discussing all of it at the end of everything. So make sure that you preserve your questions, and at the end of the workshop, I'll try my level best to answer all of the questions. And are we missing out on something? Yeah. And I request all of you to stick with me till the end of this webinar, because we have a very like super cool giveaway for you guys, which will be extremely beneficial for you in your writing journey. So without any further ado, let's just get started. Before we start, here's a bit about me. My name is Indraneel Chakravarti, and I'm a fourth-year law student at University of Petroleum Energy Studies, Dehradun. Oops, yeah. And I'm also the managing editor of UPS Student Law Review, which is the flagship student-run law journal of my university. And in here at Memo Pundits, I work as a learning and development consultant for the course on Memo Pundits course on legal research paper writing. All right. And if you're wondering, if you heard about this course for the very first time, don't worry, I'll get you covered through all of it at the end of the workshop. I'm sorry, I'm pretty much used to using the word webinar instead. So yeah, so that's about me. And here is something we always do with all our workshops. We always start off with the quote. So today's quote is from Benjamin Franklin. He says that either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Now that is a very, but yeah, I thoroughly stick by it, and it doesn't matter what you write, but whatever you write, make sure it's great, and it has a profound impact on the people who are reading it. Yeah. So let's start with the very first chapter, which is the fundamentals of legal research. Basic to a lot of you, but hold on, stick with me, and as we progress through the intermediate topics as well. So before I begin, I like to address something which is very important in the context which we are about to discuss. Now, some of you here might have a lot of publications, and that's great. You might not have a lot of publications or not even a single publication. And trust me, guys, that's absolutely okay. Irrespective of what year are you in your law school right now, that's absolutely okay, because all of us have a starting point somewhere, right? So I had one. I was quite late in my writing journey, but just the very realization that you have to write and you can write is something very, very appreciative. And if you're here today, that already means that you've taken the very first step in this journey. So pat yourself on the back, because you're all on the right path. So yeah, that was all. Now let's just get started. Now, as I said, very fundamental. Let's start with what's research. Now, a lot of you might have a lot of opinions on what research is, but as you can see, the definition is right on your screen. It's the careful study of a subject, which in order to discover some new facts or information about something. Now, research can be conducted in any sphere or area whatsoever, be it legal, medical, historical, anthropological, and the like. So whatever we do, even if we Google something out of the internet, it's indeed a form of research. All right. Now, moving on, we have legal writing and legal research. Now, as I said, we already discussed what is research. So whatever research we conduct in the field of law, be it concerned about going through statutes, regulations, rules, bypass, orders, that's a form of legal research. All right. And what's legal writing? Legal writing is just putting down your legal research into the form of articulated writing. And now it might be anything. It might be moot court memorandums. It might be your research papers. It might be your articles. Whatever you jot down in a particular format, which is the legal format, is known as a piece of legal writing. All right. So that's pretty basic. I don't think any of you have any doubts until here. Yeah. So let's go. Now, for law students, we primarily focus on 3 types of publications or written submissions, which are research papers, articles, and blogs. Yeah. Now, what's the distinction among these 3? In case you don't know, here you go. Now, research papers and papers are interchangeable terms, and they are often used interchangeably. So please don't get confused if you see the word research paper or paper. So they are the same thing. So no matter whatsoever. And then there you have articles, and then there you have blogs. Now, the primary distinction among these is the way they are written. Research papers have a very descriptive tone, all right? Because you're addressing a key issue in a very descriptive and elaborate manner. Now, as compared to it, articles are pretty shorter in length, and they have a very analytical tone throughout. Research papers are analytical as well, but they go into lengths in describing something, all right? And then there you have blogs, which are mostly opinionated, and they're mostly based on some informal or trending contemporary issues. Now, research papers have a word count of more than like 5,000 words. Now, there's no watertight formula here, but that's what the general notion is. All right. And articles are anywhere from like 1,500 to 5,000 words, and blogs are pretty short, and they fall under the category of 600 to either 1,500 words. Now, these also depend on the particular forums. Like some people consider even something as 500 words or as a blog. So that is interchangeable, but there's, as I said, no watertight formulas here. This is what it is. So yeah, this is the primary distinction between these 3. And if you're here today, you can start writing with any of the 3. It's totally up to you. But our primary focus today in this workshop would be on writing research papers, because they are the most academically oriented and they are the most fruitful pieces of publication considering your journey in your law school. Yeah. Now, moving on, a very basic question which might pop up in a lot of heads. Like, what is the need of writing research papers? Yeah. Like, all of you might ask me this question. So don't worry, I already know it. I already have this addressed. So here are a few perks of legal writing and publishing your research papers. So yeah, first one is pretty obvious. You look at any decent CV of any student who got admitted into a top tier law firm, or let's say who made it into a very good in-house counsel role. They have a few eminent publications under their names at international or legal journal or national journals, but a nice CV always has publications. If you take a look at some sample CVs out there, you'll always find some decent publications in there. So yeah, publications greatly strengthen your CV and they look very appealing to the recruiters. Then moving on, internships, of course, law students are always a dire need of internships. You can't agree less on this. And the need for internships is only and only transcending more and more. So yeah, publications will definitely make your recruiters understand that this person has a niche in this area and he has extensively worked and published in this area. That means he's more skilled than as compared to his peers. So yeah, there you see, that is always a +1 when you're applying for internships. And if you don't consider these 2 very fruitful, what I find the most profound and most impactful for me is knowledge. Because when I write on, if you write on any area that you find interesting, you will see that you are learning a lot more than what you will rather learn in your classroom. Because in the classroom, we study what we are intended to study, what we assume things to be already correct. But when you're writing something on by yourself, you learn the art of challenging things and questioning. You have to break and step out of the box. And that's how writing helps you to understand and break paradigms. All right. So nothing is as crucial as me and for you in the matter and area of knowledge. So once you write, you'll find yourself extremely and willfully able to contribute to a conversation where that area which on which you have written published is being spoken about. Apart from it, here are a few more perks on your screen, which you might see. Now, publications are a great way to boost your chances of LLM applications. I've looked at a lot of CVs where people have applied for LLM, and I've always found a lot of keynote publications there at respectable and eminent platforms. Now, as I said, a strong CV is directly proportional to your chances of getting a decent job. Now, then there you go, you have networking. Once you start your journey of writing, you'll find a lot of like-minded individuals. I've made some great friends over on LinkedIn and other platforms during my journey as an editor, as an author as well. So yeah, I've made some great friends and like-minded friends whom I can talk to, address my doubts, and just have a one-way conversation with. So writing will also enable you to network as well as to know other people. So that's a great opportunity. Now, editorial prospects are a great thing. If you have enough publications under your name, your college might be having, most colleges do have an editorial board and a law journal in their committee in the college. So yeah, so just in case you wish to join an editorial board of your college, you have a great chance of making it into it if you have a few publications under your name. For those who are preparing for competitive exams, publications won't directly help you. Because as I said, it's a plethora and a treasure chest of knowledge once you start writing and exploring a particular area. So you'll always be thorough with all the current affairs as well as any trending news on that topic. So yeah, for competitive exam enthusiasts, this is a must-do thing. And just in case you're wondering if you want to be a teacher, well, that's a very noble profession. Publications will be an immensely beneficial way to just increase your chances of making it into a decent university. Because if you look at your teachers' profiles, they have a few very eminent publications. All right, so that's pretty much the perks about writing and publishing. Now there are a lot more, but these are the major ones which we are discussing here today. But this is not the end of it. All right. So that's pretty much all about the fundamentals. Now, the very next thing, which is very important, might look extremely trivial to a lot of you, but there goes a lot into selecting a research topic. And oftentimes people can't simply start off with the writing journey because they can't simply find a topic. And it has happened to pretty much everybody. It happens to the best of us. It has happened to me. And that's why we here are trying to address this very trivial looking, but very important and vital issue. So let's get into it. And guys, just a subtle reminder, in case you encounter any doubts or have any queries, please just jot them down, preserve them with you. At the end of the workshop, we'll be having a one-on-one doubt session and we'll be talking out everything. So please do preserve a copy of your questions. Yeah. Now, guys, there are generic topics, there are good topics, and there are great topics. And what is our focus should be on? Definitely, it should be on the great topics. Now, the distinction is pretty much very precise and you can comprehend things by yourself if you take a good look at your screen. But I'll be addressing what a great topic is. Now, a great topic is one which is well defined, which is contemporary in nature, that means it is not obsolete. It's not 100 years old. There's not a lot of research conducted in that particular area, and you have ample room to explore and add something new to the table. This is known as novelty, and that's a hallmark of a good research paper, right? So you have to pick a very clear topic, which is well defined, which has a very nice scope to it, and thereby you can add some value to it. Matlab, you don't talk about things which have already been talking about, which have already been talked about a lot. For example, now, if I ask you to differentiate between these two, if I want to give you a practical example of a good topic, now, the keyword here being good and not great. So marital rape is a topic which is a good resource topic, right? But if you just Google journal papers on marital rape, you will find, if not anything more than 1,000 papers already written by a lot of eminent authors as well as a lot of law students as well. So although it might be a great topic to research and conduct something on, you are not adding or contributing anything new to this, right? If you don't have anything significant to add to this topic, you're just one more paper which will get lost in the crowd, and it won't leave an impact on your readers. And if you don't publish it somewhere nice, it won't even barely be noticed, and that's not what you're trying to do. Our writing is not about us, but for the intended readers, the people who would be reading it, right? So that's how it works. So we don't write for ourselves, we write for the society and the readers. And the whole point of a publication is so that your hard work gets noticed, right? So that's why picking a great topic is very, very crucial. Now, how do we know that a topic might be worth it and worth writing on? Here you go. First of all, it should be interesting, guys. You should not pick a topic which you're barely interested in or have no clue about what is exactly that topic on. Because if you're barely interested to write, you will find yourself getting deviated from the track and just not finding enough research content on that to even start off. So that is a big no, and you should never pick a topic which doesn't really ignite something inside you. Secondly, you should start writing on topics that will eventually help you in your future prospects. Now, if you're in your first or second year of law school, you might not have exactly figured that what exactly is your interest area, and that's absolutely fine. But just in case you have, or you're starting early and you know that, okay, this field in law interests me, let's say corporate law, all right, or let's say taxation laws, anything, let's say IPR for that matter, constitutional laws, criminal litigation, anything. If you're interested in that particular area, make sure that you write on that area, because that will enable you not just adding more value to your CV, but getting more skills and expertise in that particular area. And that will help you a lot, not in your internships, in your moot courts, and even for general knowledge. So yeah. Now, thirdly, as I said, the topic should be under-researched and of contemporary value. Like, it should be trending, or it should not be very obsolete. Now, under-researched might be counterintuitive to a lot of you. For example, you say, if a topic is under-researched, how do I even find content on it? But that's the challenge, right? You have to take it up as a challenge, and there you will have the most room and the most area to contribute and make an impact. So that's the challenge, and that's where you should be focusing on. Now, it must be well balanced. Now, your topic should not be very general or very narrow. Now, if you don't get what that is, we'll just cover it up in the next slide. And lastly, it doesn't fly past your head. You don't pick a topic which you don't have absolutely any idea about. If you don't understand taxation laws, you need not write a paper on it. It's absolutely fine. If labor law is not your thing, you don't need to write a paper on it. So make sure to remember these things in mind whenever you come across this. And just in case you guys missed it out, please do take a picture of any slide you might deem fit. All right, because this presentation won't be shared to you. Yeah, so here's another reminder. Yeah. Now, at Memo Pundits, we have whole dedicated course to research paper writing, and we always try to bring and innovate and play with topics that are not only engaging to fun and learn with, but are also informative. So yeah, so we have this concept of URI in our research paper course. So, and that's how we teach our students to how to pick a research topic. Now, URI is not only an abbreviation for a great movie. Yeah, Vicky Kaushal was definitely great. But URI will also help you remember the 3 essential steps to pick a great resource topic. Now, what does URI stand for? U stands for unsettled. So, what does U signify? It means that whatever topic you're choosing must not be settled previously. Because if the topic is settled, you don't have anything new to add on to it. It must be controversial, right? So that you can explore areas on both sides and come up with your own analysis and conclusion. All right. Now, secondly, R stands for relevant. As I said, the content and your topic must be of contemporary value. It should not be like 100 years old. It should be impactful to the present day society, and it will enable you to add a lot of value. For example, there are topics for, you can think of a lot of topics. For example, the cryptocurrency bill, the prevention of data protection bill. These bills are yet to be enforced. For example, you can think about the new education policy, the NEP, which is yet to be implemented pragmatically. So yeah, so these are some examples of relevant topics that are trending right now. And these make, for example, the Advocates Protection Bill, which was recently announced by BCI. So these are some examples of relevant topics. And lastly, it should be interesting, and I stands for interesting. That's how you go about picking a great resource topic. Yeah. So once we're done with it, let's move on. Now, as I mentioned previously, we don't pick a topic that is not well balanced. Now, what does that signify? That signifies that your topic should not be on a very general area of law that might be not be feasible for you to cover. All right. It should be narrowed down to a sub portion or a subtopic inside that. All right. Or you could divide that subtopic in a further subtopic, and that's how the cycle goes. Now, the possibilities are endless, and I know this might be overboard, or you might be overwhelmed with this. So let's just understand what narrowing down your topic means with a practical example. Now, let's take an example of an author who wishes to write a paper on cyber law. All right. So now, the thing is, cyber law is a very general topic. For example, there are lots of things in cyber law, and you just simply can't write a paper in cyber law because even people have even written books on it, but they end up not being finishing all of the subtopics inside it, right? So you can't write a paper on cyber law because it's extremely general, and you can't just include all the nitty-gritties of cyber law in one single paper. It would be impossible for you to write on it. For example, if you want to write a paper on the Constitution of India, you will end up writing just under the Constitution. So that's how devious it is. So what we do, let's look at step 1. We just choose a general topic area which is not balanced. For example, cyber law. All right. Then we go to explore a niche in that sub area. Niche is a subtopic, basically, inside the general topic. For example, inside cyber law, you are interested in cyber crimes. So there you go. That's step 2. So now you have cyber crimes in cyber law. All right. Now you have to explore cyber crimes. And once you start exploring cyber crimes, you learn about the factors that affect or decline the growth of cybercrime, or just exacerbate them or facilitate cybercrimes. So you are interested in these factors and you wish to write a paper on the factors affecting cybercrime. Now, the 4th step is to look further in and look if you can include any further specifics if that topic has those specific areas. For example, you find that negligence is a great factor that affects cybercrimes, which affects the rates of cybercrime significantly. So there you go, negligence and cybercrime. Now, second last step is all about turning your step 4 into a sentence. All right. So you had negligence in cybercrime. Now you just turn it into a sentence. That negligence has a substantial impact on cybercrimes. Now, negligence might affect cybercrimes like facilitating them or like declining them. That's what your research might be on. And lastly, you just fine tune and touch up your what you got in your step 5, and there you have your topic. You have finally narrowed it down significantly, and there you have a very well balanced and a great research topic to conduct and write a research paper on. For example, corporate negligence causes increased rates in cybercrimes. You just add a suitable title to it, like I have in my last line. Here you can look at it. Like the implications of corporate negligence vis-a-vis cybercrimes in India. Prime now. That's how fancy and simple it is. So I hope this example was relevant to you and help you out, learn how to narrow down your topic. Now, okay, so cybercrime is a very general topic, but do you have any example of what is a very narrow topic? We already discussed a very general topic, which is a very broad topic, which we can't cover. But let me give you an example of a very narrow topic. Let's say, for example, if you wish to write a paper on foreign language policies, and you wish to write a paper on foreign language policies in a small town, let's say Dehradun. Now, Dehradun is a small town, and it might not even have a foreign language policy. So that's an example of a very short, like very narrow research topic, because you won't be able to conduct any fruitful research on it, right? Because Dehradun might not, as I said, might not even have a foreign language policy. So that's how it works. So that was pretty much it about narrowing down your research topic. And now we'll be discussing about IRAC, which is also known as IRAC rule. And we'll use this method to structure our topic. Now, IRAC is a lifesaver for a lot of law students. It's mostly used for writing case comments, but it will also help you significantly if you wish to structure your research topic. Now, once you've already found out your research topic, you first have to look at I, which is the issue, right? For example, you have to check what is the problem about it. For example, if you're writing a paper on homosexuality, you might be tempted to feel that homosexual marriages shall be legalized in India. So there you go. That's your issue, that homosexual marriages are not legalized in the nation, right? So there you go. Now you have to come to the rule. Now, rule, or R, also stands for relevant law. You just look at the existing statutory or the legal framework in your nation or the jurisdiction concerned in your paper, and you have to figure out that does the law applicable in that area allows it or forbids it. If it is allowed, then you have whole new perspective and analysis. But as you know, homosexual marriages are not yet recognized. They're decriminalized, but they're not permitted, right? So our law forbids them. So there you have an argument. You have to write a paper against the existing law. So that's how you go. Now, A stands for analysis. Now, this is the whole foundation of your research paper. This determines your ability to write and analyze the existing law as well as you can, and you have to find out the shortcomings of it. Like, you have to mention how do legalizing homosexual marriages might prove fruitful to the nation, might bring harmony to the society. Now, you might rely on other people's works in nations where it is allowed, and you have a lot of room and ambit to explore. You might explore case laws, and that's totally up to the author. But analysis of any research paper is the heart of the research paper. So always remember to have a very strong analysis and not making any statements out of thin air. Whatever you write should be ideally corroborated by some authority, like a case law or a book or an article or primary sources such as statute, rule, legislation, etc. Now, C is very simple. It stands for conclusion, and a paper without a well-written conclusion is a paper terribly written. Trust me. If you can't bring your paper to a well-defined closure, you haven't failed as a good author. So make sure that whatever you write and finish your topic with should be ideally structured in a way that looks very reasonable to the reader. Now, you don't have to be very definite in your conclusion because you are not the prime minister, right? You can't write a conclusive thing. You can only predict things as an author. And that's not up to you if your prediction turns true or false. You just have to be as practical and as legally sound as you can. So that's how you use IRAC to structure your research topic, as well as even in writing. And now you can use IRAC for basically anything. It's not only limited to a particular thing. If you're writing a case brief, you can use IRAC to figure out the issues, the laws, the analysis, as well as the conclusion, as in what the court held. So IRAC is a great tool for using and even writing exams answers in your examinations. IRAC is a great and wonderful utility for law students, and you must be well adept at using it. And lastly, if you wish to know how do you find topic ideas at the very first place, because sometimes people do ask me that how do I find my research ideas? Now there's a lot of things, but these are 6 methods that work mostly for everybody. First is reading. Nothing even comes close to it. You read about things, you know about it, they strike something inside your head, and that's how you come to know that, okay, now you can read books, articles, blogs, anything of your sort or your liking, but reading is by far the most proven way to help you generate research ideas and pop some nice things inside your head. Now, then you have the internet with you. Mostly internet is free nowadays. You have a Wi-Fi connection mostly. So just make the most out of Google, and I'm sure that you won't be let down. Third, you can go on social media websites like LinkedIn, Instagram, and follow some decent people in there. Yeah, they have some great people out there. There are movie pages and a lot of meme pages. But if you find and follow intellectual folks, you will come across a lot of intellectual posts, and you will find out that a lot of topics are talked about that are of very significant relevance in the society. And you might turn those things, those issues, those controversies in a resource paper topic. So that's a great way. So make sure that you follow positive people on social media handles. Now, fourth is observe. Now, observe is a very great thing. It's a skill that you will eventually build as a lawyer. Just look around yourself and find out what is exactly going wrong with things. For example, you are sitting in your class and your teacher just comes to you and you were using phone and he just seized your phone because you were using it in class. All right. And he starts scrolling through your WhatsApp messages to see whom you were texting. So is that legally allowed? Obviously, you can't say anything to the teacher right then because he might take disciplinary action against you for that. So, but if you think it on a serious level, on a major level, is he allowed to look into your phone and read through your personal messages? Is he infringing upon a right which he's not intended to do? So that's how observation kicks in. Now you might look around, you will see a lot of things that are not exactly fitting in. For example, you stop at a traffic signal, cop comes to you that, hey, you didn't stop and you crossed the zebra mark. But you see the other guy handing him over a 500 rupee note. So that's not legally permitted, but that works, right? So is it a positive notion or a negative notion? So these are some things which you will have to eventually find answers to. And that's how observation is a great way to come up with the resource topic. Now, second last, we have communication. It's a great way. You just have to find like-minded people. Now, they might be friends, they might be family, they might be seniors in your college, they might be mentors, teachers, anybody. You can simply talk to them, know about what's exactly going on in the legal fraternity. And more than often, they have a lot of great ideas on which you can work on and which you can polish a bit and come up with a great and furnished resource. So yeah, communication is a great way to come up with some decent topics. And lastly, we have Google Alerts. Now, how to set up a Google Alert, but you can learn it online. It's already there inside a course if you wish to check that out. We'll cover it at the end of this workshop. But yeah, we at Memo Pundits try a level best to come up with very actionable ideas And Google Alerts is something that I loved and I found out while doing this course myself. So yeah, so it is a very, very, very amazing way to keep posted and stay updated with what's exactly happening on topics that I'm interested in. So yeah, you can just simply Google it out. Now, as I said, we have a very awesome giveaway at the end of this workshop, but the only condition being that you have to stick by it so that you be eligible to claim it. We are only sharing this with people who make it to the end of this workshop. So hold your horses, because this is something too good and you won't want to miss out on it. So yeah, just stick with me and you'll be there. All right, so if anybody wants to take a 1 minute break, they can. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I'll drink some water myself. Just a second. Yeah. So here we go again, and now start and come to the real deal, which is writing the paper. All right. So we'll discuss this. We have phase 2, and then we have the last which is the phase 3. All right. So let's start with the very fundamentals, which is the very first phase. So yeah. So phase 1, the first step is understanding guidelines. Now, if you look closely, there's an asterisk down there. Now, the reason being that it only applies if it's applicable. So that is only applicable to you if you're writing for a particular journal or a website who have already mentioned and listed down their format or structuring guidelines. But figure that out at the end of the completion of your paper, then this step is not applicable to you. Feel absolutely free to write on your own terms. Now, we already went about discussing how to choose a topic, so that's covered. Once we end up choosing a topic, we conduct a bit of preliminary research about it, just to make sure that, okay, this is our cup of tea and we can go about writing and contributing something on it. All right. Then we just turn our legal issues using IRAC into research questions, and we just try to answer them in a couple of sentences. Now, I know that that's the whole point of your entire paper, and you have to write your entire paper solving those issues. But trust me, if you can answer those questions in a couple of sentences, that equips you with a very brief crux of what you're going to do, right? For example, as we say, homosexual marriages we were discussing. So just write out in a couple of sentences that why legalizing homosexual marriages might be fruitful for us. There you go. That's all about phase 1. For phase 2, you create an outline. Now, what is an outline of a paper? Now, outline is once you have identified your topic, just think about what would be the subheads inside your paper. All right. For example, introduction is a subhead. Okay. You might have some historical or backdrop studies. So it might be one of them. Now, you might have a subhead on judicial precedents. You might have a subhead on, you obviously would have a subhead on conclusion, right? So just write down on a rough piece of paper or on a document on your Word file, anything, and just list down the possible subheadings. All right. There you have your outline. Now, since this is rough, you can always add or subtract. That's totally up to you. But having a rough outline will always help you to get through the rest of your paper with much ease and convenience. I always start writing my papers with an outline, and always has helped me. So yeah, once you figured out your rough outline, you just start writing. Now, whatever you write for the first time is actually rough. So it's known as your first draft. Now, people can either convert their rough draft into the final paper, Or what you can do separately is that you can take 2 copies, one for rough and one for the final. And once you polish your rough draft, you can convert into your final draft. That's totally up to you. If you can work with 2 Word files, that's great. If you wish to write it on the same paper and like moderate and furnish, polish it again and again, is absolutely fine. Whatever works best for you. Now you start writing, you structure your paragraphs, make sure they look neat. Nobody writes reading long chunks of text. Text always looks good when it's justified. There's ample line space, line breaks at every 7 or 8 sentences, bullet points you use. Because nobody likes reading like this long chunks of text, guys. So you would agree with me there. Now, once we start writing, we also make sure that we compile our research, and whatever we're using, we treasure and preserve those resources with us, so that whatever authorities or citations we use, we have a thorough checklist of all of them. So that's pretty much it about phase 2. And for the final phase, we just start with a final draft, and we make sure we write a very neat introduction. We answer the what, the whys, the hows, everything in there. We make sure we have a strong legal analysis throughout a paper. We make sure that our conclusion is compelling. We just go through the paper. We make sure that the final draft is very appealing and sensible and prudent in a manner that anybody who reads it might understand very easily that what the paper is all about. And then last stage is the revision or the review. So there you have your whole paper in 3 phases. Now, this is the basic structure of a research paper. As I said, organization, your thesis statement, and your outline. Now, you already might know what organization and an outline is. We already discussed it. But some of you might not know what is thesis statement. So basically, this is the main argument of your entire submission, right? So it is a compilation of all these vital points that will help you to answer your research question. All right. So this is a technical term. You might not necessarily know it, but it's always +1 if you know what is a thesis statement. So whatever those couple sentences are that we just talked about here, the sentences which you answer your research question with is your thesis statement. Yeah. To make sure it's well supported by some rational and legal points. So that's always a brownie on the cake. I mean, the brownie. Yeah, and here you go. I insist you guys take a picture of this slide, because these are the key areas in your research paper. Yeah, so there you have the title, there you have the abstract, the introduction, the analysis, the suggestions, and the conclusion. Now, a research paper might have a lot of extra areas apart from these, but by far, these are the most important areas that you must have 3 looks on before you submit your paper. Now, each of them serve a different purpose. So let's just quickly cover what these areas do, right? For example, the title. Now, the title is something that generates traction and it catches eyes, all right? Because if you write a paper, for example, sexual harassment, that's the title of paper. So that's not appealing. That's just another generic term. People might not be interested to read it, right? So make sure you have a catchy title that looks visually appealing and it sort of works like clickbaiting, but it's not clickbait because you have written a good paper, right? So make sure that your title of the paper is visually and looks catchy and interesting at the first blush. Now, there you have your abstract. Now, abstract is very important part of your paper because it ultimately decides that somebody will even read your paper ahead or not. So abstract is basically the crux of your entire submission of what you have written, and you have to clearly mention the outcomes and findings of your research in, let's say, an abstract is generally of 200 to 300 words. So that's the gist of your entire submission in 300 words. Now, a lot of people make this mistake, and this is not because of them, but this is a very wrong notion that we should write and submit our abstracts before we even write a paper. Now, that is a very wrong notion. I don't know why academic institutions and a lot of publishing forums even do this. They ask for an abstract even before the paper is written. And authors just write an abstract without even writing the paper, and they send their paper at a later stage for publication. Now, the problem with this is that, as I said, the abstract is the entire crux of your submission. And during the process of writing, you will come across some things that might change your opinion a bit, or you might add something new, or might come up with a more precise answer or a more precise conclusion. Now, since you have already written your abstract before, that makes no sense to write it over and over again. So the best time to write an abstract, you ask me, is at the completion of your final paper. That's how it usually works. So don't fall for the wrong assumption. And if you're writing a paper for yourself, by yourself, then make sure you write your abstract at the end. Now, introduction, if somebody has read your abstract and he's interested to read ahead, the first thing he'll read is the introduction. So as you know, the first impression is the last impression. So make sure an introduction is well written. The why, the how, the what is all these questions are answered there. And the reader gets a very descriptive heads up of what he's looking at. Then there's an analysis. As I said, it's the heart of your paper. It's present throughout. This is no particular portion. It's there throughout your paper. So make sure analysis is well scrutinized. It's pragmatic. It's practical. It's based on law. You're not making statements out of thin air. And whatever you're writing makes sense not only to you, but even to the people reading it. All right. Then suggestions. A good paper doesn't only talks about the problems. It always has solutions. All right. You can talk about a lot of problems in law. Our nation has the world's second largest population. Even population is one of a very good research area in law. And just UP just came up with a population control bill. So you see, there are lots of issues inside the law, but it's not about the issues. Your paper should highlight the suggestions, the conclusions, the possible rectifications of how we can address this situation, how we can come up with the possible resolution, what should be our step, what should be the road ahead. So that is the imprint of your paper. And if you can highlight some actionable strategies to resolve these issues, then your paper is indeed a very well written paper. And they say that all's well that ends well. And so there you have your conclusion. And if you are able to bring your paper to a very decent closure, it's very much appreciated. And if you have taken care of all these portions in your paper, it's more than possible for you. It's more than likely that your paper will definitely get published and will definitely be appreciated by critics or anybody who reads it. So make sure you have taken a picture of this slide. Now, let's move ahead. Now, we'll just quickly cover a few do's and don'ts of research paper writing, and then we'll move on to the next topic. So the very first is clarity. As I said, you just communicate in a very clear and precise manner. You just don't beat around the bush anywhere inside your paper, and whatever you wish to convey should be conveyed very clearly. And you should know what exactly is it that you are addressing and talking about. So that should reflect in your writing, and you should not just stay far aloof from beating around the bush. Now, secondly, you have justifications. As I said, you don't make blank statements anywhere inside your paper, and always make sure that whatever you speak or write inside your paper is well justified, either through authorities, the law, or anything, any previous research or study, but it's not an imagination or based on your own whims and fancies. All right, then accuracy. Whatever you're writing, whether it be any source, any platform that you using for writing, should be accurate enough. Now, you should be using credible resources for it. Wikipedia is no credible source. Please don't mention Wikipedia anywhere inside your research papers. It doesn't look professional at all, because honestly speaking, anybody can edit Wikipedia, even you, even I, anybody can. That's about all the wiki websites. So they're not credible sources of law or credible sources of information. So please stay far aloof from using any such unreliable sources. Now, this is maintain the flow is all about ensuring that your entire paper is written on a steady tone. For example, you can't just criticize something through 80% of the of your entire paper, and the rest 20% you go about praising it altogether. So that doesn't how it works. You should stick to a particular stance. You should maintain a flow of the reading so that the reader is able to read naturally. For example, if you read a story, you start reading with how things work in chronology and how the story ended. All right. You don't bring the closure before the very introduction. So please make sure that whoever's reading a paper is able to construe things in a very chronological order, and whatever he reads makes sense. So that's how your structuring would help you. Now, lastly, be original. Definitely, that's your hallmark of your entire paper. Whatever you should speak and write should be definitely it should be corroborated with some authorities, but you are adding something, your own thoughts to the table, right? So make sure that whatever you write, it might need not necessarily be cited because it's written by you, but it should be prudent, it should be rational, and it should be actionable. You should not make thin statements, as I said, but whatever you write is very, very appealing and very, very doable in considering the practical scenario. So originality will always be appreciated and is the best thing you will do inside your paper. Lastly, review, revise, proofread. We call it RRP in Memo Pundits. We have this method, and trust me, guys, this is something. If you keep on reviewing a paper, there's always something that you will come up with, and you'll always wish that okay, I can improve here. Oh, I should remove this, and as many times, no matter how many you do this, you will always come up with something new. So make sure that you get in the habit of revising and reviewing things before, in order to eliminate all possible errors and, if possible, get your paper proofread by someone. Now, here are the don'ts of research paper writing. Like, for example, firstly, we have the nuances. For example, we don't use phrases like "in my opinion," "I believe," "I think." It's very informal to use those first-person pronouns, which is the second point right in here. We don't use "I," "me," "you," "us." It is not what we should intend to do in a paper. As I said, it's much more than you. Your writing is much more than you or your co-authors. It's for the people who are reading it. So make sure to take care of these little nuances. Then there's unnecessary elongation. Now, if you want to say that the sky is blue, you just say that the sky is blue. You don't say that the sky is a concoction and concatenation of a hue of the tinge between orange and yellow. So that's not how it works. You just say the sky is blue, right? So this unnecessary elongation, it's easily detected, is easily detected by the editors, and mostly authors do this to meet a particular word count, but that is not something you should do. As we mentioned, referred inside the do's, we don't beat around the bush. Whatever you want to write, we clear it, convey in the least words possible. And big no to jargon, guys. We don't. This is a very common misconception that research paper is a very professional document. No doubt it is, but that doesn't infer that you can use like any colloquial terms that don't have you don't even understand. For example, take a look at these words. Now, these are Sashi Tharoorian words, and you don't have to be Sashi Tharoor once you're writing legal research papers. You can very much use simple words and very simple terminology. You don't have to use fancy words that you don't even understand. I have personally seen papers and reviewed papers where authors have used terms and phrases where would not even do they fit in, but they are something they might don't understand themselves. Please avoid doing it and keep your paper sweet and simple. It is by far the best advice I can give you as an editor and as an author myself. Then we have don't generalizing. Now, this habit is a great habit. It will help you to turn and analyze things from both sides of the table. Don't just write on anything or go about criticizing anything without thinking about the other side. So as a good author, make sure that you understand what you're writing about. And lastly, there's a big don't, and this is something you should take a read on. Never ever compare. All right, never ever compare your publications with anybody else. Now, I know people get intimidated by a lot of publications. Somebody might have 20 publications, somebody has two. So, but if those two publications are from Harvard and Yale, and the other 50 publications are somewhere from some lawlex slugs, some websites who, not demeaning anybody, but if they are not valuable publications, they are not based on contemporary topics, they are not significant, then trust me, those 20 publications are nothing as compared to those two publications. These two publications supersede those 20 by miles. So it's never about the quantity, it's always about the quality of your research. So make sure whatever you do, whatever your hard work you're putting into will reflect. So never ever compare how many publications your peers might have, this person or that person might have. You should never do that. It's your unique journey and you are here to create something out of your own. All right. So never ever compare yourself to anybody. Now that is all about how we go about writing a paper. Here comes the interesting part, which is plagiarism and citations. So let's come to what we students know best. So yeah, so what's plagiarism? So plagiarism is the act of copying another person's ideas, words, or work and pretending they are your own, as I've written. And the best example of plagiarism is this sentence itself, because I plagiarized it from Google. So yeah, so this is exactly copy pasted from Google, and they are very witty to introduce this example as the one of their own. So yeah, so since I've not given any credit to them, so this is plagiarized. So this is how plagiarism works. We have already been doing it. You might not know it, but copy pasting is indeed plagiarism if you don't give credits. So yeah, if you express an idea or anything, facts, formulas, without giving the due credit to the original author, it's a form of plagiarism. Now, why does plagiarism matter in research paper writing? Let me tell you, it's the most common ground for preliminary rejection of a manuscript. You send your manuscript for publication, the very first thing that they will do is run a plagiarism check. That's what we do at UPS Student Law Review, and at any law review, this is what most editors do. All right, so no paper gets passed through without going through the plagiarism and anonymity check. Anonymity might not be very relevant, but every manuscript goes through a plagiarism check. And if the manuscript fails, it like has more than 20% plagiarism or 15 or whatever the set criteria is, it's instantly rejected. So plagiarism is by far the most common ground for rejection of manuscripts. I've seen so many, even good manuscripts getting rejected because of plagiarism and because the author has failed to cite some important things. So that's first. And secondly, it tarnishes your reputation as an author. Trust me, if you look at a paper with more than 90% of plagiarism, and you will instantly judge the person without even might knowing him. All right, because there you have it. That person has not put in any hard work and he wants to get a publication merely for nothing. So don't just do it. It sets a very wrong impression about you. Now, lastly, a plagiarized submission is a submission worth not publishing at all. Even if it manages to get published somehow, you might get caught and there might be some repercussions on you, and eventually you will be submitting a deteriorated version of something. Now, in India, we take it very lightly. I know we uh, we take plagiarism very lightly. We just sorry. We just take plagiarism very lightly. We copy paste answers in exams. We we have taken this for granted in a manner, and that's very true. But that's not how it works in, let's say, in the international horizon. For example, this slide right here, what's on your screen, is from Harvard, and if you read at it, it's from the LLM webpage. plagiarism is something incredibly serious. Now, you might go to the website and check this out for yourself, or you might read it right now. But plagiarism is so serious that once a student who has even graduated from the LLM program inside Harvard has passed through, he had his degree with him, and during an interrogation, somebody found out that his paper was indeed what he submitted in his final dissertation paper was plagiarized. And you won't believe that Harvard went to the length of not only resigning his degree, so he had already graduated, but his degree was rescinded. So all his hard work and effort went into vain. And then there was this another student who plagiarized something. He was in his first semester, because LLM is a 1-year course, 9-month course in there. So he was not only suspended, but he was not even admitted to a readmission. So yeah, all of his months and hard work was eventually, and all of his money was eventually wasted. So we might take plagiarism very lightly, but that's not how it works in foreign institutions or even good reputable institutions. Even UGC has a very strict norm. Now you might laugh at it, but India has plagiarism rules, and UGC, the University Grants Commission, has already specified a set criteria for plagiarism at inside educational institutions. You might check it out on the internet, but don't take plagiarism lightly. If you're going for publications as an author, you should take plagiarism seriously. Now, how do we go about avoiding plagiarism? That's it. If you ask me, the best way to do it is being original. There's no other substitute to it. Now, then there you have citing your sources, whatever you are referring to, a study, a research paper, an article, or a judgment, please do cite your sources. All right. Now, citations of various kinds. There are footnoting, there's endnotes. We'll cover it up just now. But using citations are the best way and the most proven way to avoid plagiarism. Now, you can use quotes, you can use citations. Now, second, you have paraphrasing. Now, paraphrasing is just turning a statement into a different form, which has the same meaning. All right. So rather than saying, I woke up at 6 a.m., you can say, I happened to turn awake at 6 a.m. So this is a very simple example of how paraphrasing works. Now, you have to make sure that you do this correctly, and there is a proper way to paraphrase things. Paraphrasing doesn't mean that if you're stealing somebody's idea, you don't give him the credit. So make sure that you use and get into the habit of citing all sources, whatever are used inside your paper. Now, here are some personal favorite tips from my end to you in order to avoid plagiarism as much as possible. Firstly, be original. As I said, there's no substitute to it. Secondly, understand what is plagiarism, because it's very complex, guys. It might look very easy prima facie, but that's not the case. Inside a course, we have a whole module dedicated to plagiarism, because that's what a lot of issues where authors face when they are writing their papers. So make sure that you understand the nuances of plagiarism well. You can go visit Turnitin. They have a free plagiarism quiz. You can take the quiz out there. And thirdly, you can use a plagiarism checker, which are the plagiarism checking tools. Now, the best tools out there is Turnitin. Now, there's Scribble, there's the Original, but mostly most colleges give a free subscription to either one of them. But just in case you don't have a subscription, your college doesn't provide you one, there are free alternatives like Dupli Checker or Qtext. So make sure that before submitting your manuscript for publication, you do have a plagiarism check run through it. That said, let's move on. Now, what is citations? Now, citations, as I said, is the way of giving credit to somebody whom you might have referred while writing a paper. Now, citations exist in various forms. There's footnotes, there are endnotes, there are hyperlinks, then there's references, bibliography, and a lot. Now, citations, then we have citation styles. Now, citation styles are just a particular way to write down this or dictate the source that we are cited to in a particular and ordered manner. Now, general citation styles are MLA, APA, Chicago, but this is not a primary focus. What we should instead focus on are the legal citation styles. Now, the four major legal citation styles are the Blue Book, the OSCALA, the ILI, and the SILC. They have this uniform citation as well. And in our course, we cover all four of them. Not ILI because it's not extremely relevant in today's context. But apart from ILI, we have uniform citations. So yeah, so the Blue Book is by far the most widely used citation style in law, and it's compiled by Columbia, Harvard, Pennsylvania, as well as Yale, and it's the most used style in US and even in India. So the Blue Book has two editions, the 20th and the 21st edition. If you wish to learn how to cite things in the Blue Book citation style, stick with me. We have a whole lot of it coming on ahead. Now, apart from Blue Book, we have OSCALA. Now, OSCALA is a different style. It's created by Oxford University. It's from the UK, and it's a great way to cite things. There you have it. That's all about OSCALA. It stands for the Oxford University Standard of Citations for Legal Authorities. Now you have ILI. It's usually found. It was formulated and fabricated by ILI, New Delhi, which is the Indian Law Institute. And SILC is very new, is the newest out of these, and it's in gaining immense traction these days. A lot of publishing forums are adopting this citation style. So yeah, so SILC is newest out of the lot, but it's a very easy and a simple mode of citation. You can imagine it to be India's variant to the Blue Book. So yeah, that's all about the four major legal citation styles. Now, here are some tips from my end if you wish to cite like a pro. Firstly, pick one citation style. Now, it might be Blue Book, it might be OSCALA, but it might be SILC, but do pick one. My personal opinion, you should start with either the Blue Book or the OSCALA. I would prefer Blue Book, but that's me. Now, secondly, just pick one, start practicing. Now, make sure that if you are referring to a guide, you refer to nothing except the official guide. Because guys, trust me, I've seen a lot of like guides from third-party websites and forums, and they have incorrect notations whatsoever. So please make sure that whenever you're referring to sources for citations, you use the official sources. Now, secondly, use shortcuts. They'll simplify your life a lot. If you're using Microsoft Word and you wish to insert a footnote, you would have to go to the references tab, then you have to click insert footnote. Now that's a very long and tedious process. You don't have to do it. You can simply use the shortcut key Control Alt F, or if you're using an Apple device, then it's Command Alt F, and that's how it works. So now citations also help you generate an automatic table of references or bibliography. Now we won't be covering it right now, but you can learn it if you wish to. It's also available online. It's there in courses as well. So that's up to you. And make it a habit of reviewing your citations as well. While you're done with your paper, make sure that you're also reviewing all of your citations, because that's something that authors miss. And sometimes there are huge blunders inside the footnote area. Make sure not to do it. These are some main common mistakes that authors tend to commit while citing. Common errors are spelling errors, like punctuation errors, wrong commas, wrong hyphens. So these two are the most common out of what we tend to get. And then there's losing data. People eventually cite something and they forget, and they don't preserve their citations with them. So make sure that all your research is well organized. Otherwise, you'll get into a lot of trouble that way. And don't forget to cite. If you do forget to cite, then you will eventually have blank footnotes and endnotes, and you simply don't know what to fill them up with. And whatever you're citing, make sure that's not obsolete. It's currently in trend. I mean, it's not, for example, if you're citing a case law, make sure that the case is not overruled. It's still enforced, right? So these are some little things that you need to take care of while having citations. And lastly, don't go overboard. You just can't throw in 1,000 citations in a paper of 5 pages. Excuse me. So yeah, don't go overboard. It's not like a moot court memorandum. Use only the relevant and appropriate citations and use them only when absolutely necessary. All right. So now we come to it's pretty much the last part, I guess. But yeah, this is the coolest. So here we will discuss some cool tips and tricks of research paper writing that not people tend to know. But yeah, since you're here, you know. Let's starting with the tips, the questions that I am asked the most as an author myself and as an editor, that how do we go about finding the motivation for starting to write? So this is the question I come across a lot. So people just want to know that they're eventually waiting for something or a spark or a traction to just get started. But trust me, guys, that's not how it works. From a personal experience, I can tell you that if you sit patiently and just wait for the motivation to kick in, it usually does not. And that's not how it works. I read this book. It's a very famous book. You might have heard the name of it. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving, yeah, by Mark Manson. So in that book, I came across a wonderful strategy to overcome procrastination. So what you have to do is not wait for things and start doing things right away. I know it's not the wisest thing to do. You will be extremely demotivated and disinterested to start something to do when you barely don't have any clue on what you're doing. But it's the best proven way, and it has always worked for me. For example, I know if you open Microsoft Word and you look at a blank screen with no single word on it, you will be intimidated that how do I write, how do I fill 10 pages like these or like 20 pages of this when all I see is a blank screen. But trust me, just start writing whatever you feel is the right way. Write anything, it doesn't matter what you write, just start writing and write, let's say 100 words, 200 words, and as soon as you do it, you will find out the drive to write 200 more. And I've started doing it. I have done it a lot from, I've been doing it from a long time. And trust me, guys, I do it when I'm the most disinterested to do something. And it has always worked for me. So the best time you ask me to start writing is now. So just don't wait for any magic to happen. Your magic is inside you. And if it doesn't work for you, which I'm sure it will do, but if it doesn't, blame Mark Manson, not me. So yeah. Secondly, what sets your paper apart? So simply, it's very simple, nothing fancy here. It's just how well are you able to organize what's inside your head. It's the clarity in your argumentation, the way you take the flow of your article, and the structure, entire structure, and the visual appeal of the paper. And every word counts. Don't beat around the bush. Make sure whatever you're trying to convey is very, very reasonable and rational. Now, here is a very cool method to go from a blank page to an entire complete submission in just 10 steps. I won't be reading out the slide. You can simply take a picture of this if you wish to, or if you stick towards the end of it, it's also included in the giveaway. So that's totally up to you. But this is a very actionable plan to turn a blank page into an entire submission in the least steps possible. Yeah, and this is a schedule which I have prepared. It's very much possible for you to write your first paper, considering that you have not published anything inside ever before. Let's give you 2 whole months to do it. So take 2 whole months to write your first paper. Now, I just have a water break here. You can read it out and take a quick picture of these two. All right, so I hope you guys have took a picture of this. Now, let's move on. Lastly, from the tips part, firstly, I would like to tell everybody that take your time. It's not something that you learn overnight. Rome was not built in a day. So mastering the art of resource paper writing will eventually take you some time. And initially, it might take you a whole month to write something. But as time passes, you will be able to do it in less than a day. Trust me, I can tell you this from my personal experience that with time, everything eventually sets in and you will learn about a lot of things as time progresses. Just stay disciplined, which is the second portion, and take things slow. And lastly, remember this again, your writing should not reflect what you think. You're not writing for yourself, you're writing for the general people who would be reading your paper. So make sure what's right, what not be right for you, but might be right for the whole society is the right way to go about things. So these are three of my personal favorite tips for all of you. Now, coming to the tricks, now let's come here. Now, MS Word has a lot of very useful shortcut keys. Now, you might take a picture of this slide, and same goes for Google Chrome. Now, if you don't know these shortcuts, guys, trust me, you're missing out on a lot of things. You are going the old-fashioned way, that is using your mouse and your clipboard, but that is not what you should be doing. Shortcuts save you a ton of time. And ever since I've started using shortcuts, I've completely forgotten that I have even a mouse or a trackpad. And I don't barely use them in my day-to-day work experiences. So for example, if you want to bold something, you just use Control plus B. If you want to select something, you just use Control plus arrow keys. If you want to delete a word, you just hit backspace and keep hitting backspace until that entire word is deleted. But if you press Control plus backspace, the whole word gets deleted at once. If you want to insert a footnote, it's Control plus Alt plus F. If you insert a hyperlink, it's Control plus K. So these shortcut keys might look trivial at first, but they are lifesavers in the long run. And trust me, if you write even 1,000 words and you use shortcut keys, considering that you would have taken 3 hours otherwise, this will ensure that you write it up in like 2.5 at the most. So shortcut keys have a great practical application in today's world. And same goes for Google Chrome. You can use Control plus D to bookmark something, Control plus Shift plus T. Now this is a very great shortcut key. What usually happens is that how many times it happens that we mistakenly close a tab and we didn't want to close it, and now we can't remember what was open. So in Google Chrome, you just press Control Shift T. T stands for tab, and Google Chrome reopens that tab for you. So learning these shortcut keys will help you and equip you with all the knowledge in your trick arsenal, and will give you a very good upper hand as compared to your peers. Now, here's one special shortcut key for you guys. This happens that what you usually do, we want to split screen 2 applications in Windows, and we want to use both of them at the same time. So this happens. So what you should do is that press the Windows key and just select any of the arrow keys, either the left one or the right one, and just press that, and Windows will automatically open both the applications in 2 separate screens, just exactly split in half. Otherwise, you would have, if you want to do it the conventional way, you would have to drag the mouse to the left. Now take this window to the right. But with the shortcut keys, life is so simple. So make sure that you're using shortcut keys as much as you can. Now, Google Chrome is much more than a browser. Now, Chrome has an application store of itself. It's known as the Chrome Web Store. You can search on it for Google. And if you go there, you'll find out that it has the same appearance as, let's say, the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. So the applications inside the Google Chrome store are known as extensions. All right. So these are by far, you can install them. It's a very simple process. It is very much self-explanatory. And these are by far my favorite Google Chrome extensions. Google Keep, then this Mercury Reader, Grammarly, Simple Highlighter, Tabs, Momentum, and you have so many things. For example, there's a dark reader, there's screen recording, there's lots of cool features. So if you've never visited Chrome Web Store before, please do check it out. And if you do, make sure that you have at least these extensions installed. Now, I can tell you what these do. Google Keep is a very simple note-keeping platform where you can store up all your notes, links, images, whatever, and get synced up among all your Google devices. Now, your phone, your PC, everything is synced, and you never lose anything. Now, Mercury Reader is a very great extension, and what it usually does, it clears the clutter out of any website. Suppose you're reading something and there are lots of ads and irrelevant context inside that web page. You just hit one button and Mercury Reader comes and clears up everything. It's like magic. Now, Grammarly is the best tool for you to write accurately. They also have a Microsoft Word plugin, so do check it out. And you are free to explore the rest of these. Now, Momentum is a beautiful extension. I won't tell you what it does. Do check it out yourself because you are in for a little surprise that way. So, just in case you haven't clicked the picture, you might before we move to the next. Cool. Yeah. So, lastly, let's just quickly discuss what's the process of publication, because a lot of people don't know this. So let's just address this for once and all. So usually, guys, how it works that firstly, you submit your manuscript. Now, there are multiple ways, and it depends on the platform of how they are accepting publications. Most publications accepted via email, or they are accepted via Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. So that are the most common forms of submission. Now, what usually happens once you submit your manuscript is that you firstly get an acknowledgement mail that, okay, we have received your submission with us, and we'll shortly revert about the status of it. Now, a few days later or a few months, or depends on the platform, it even takes a lot of months depending on what platform you have submitted. It depends on publishing forums, so do check it out before you submit your documents. So they acknowledge, and in a few days, your paper either gets rejected, or if it gets approved, you receive a rectification email that, okay, we have tentatively acknowledged your manuscript and we are willing to publish it, provided that you make these changes. So these changes are known as rectifications. So once you mail it back to the team at the editorial board, they go ahead with the publication. So it's a 3-step process, pretty simple. So that's all it goes in. Now, here's a very useful submission checklist for you guys before you send in your publication, your papers for publication. Now, do consider taking a picture of this if you want to. Now, firstly, it's a well-drafted and precise email where you mention all about yourself. What's your paper's topic? What's your name? What's your university? What year are you in? What is your contact details? All of that stuff. Then you have a very appropriate subject line. Mostly the subject lines are specified by the platform. For example, submission to this journal, volume 2, issue 1, like that. So if no subject line is specified, you can come up with your own, but make sure that it's correct. Now, make sure that you don't miss out the file name. For example, your paper might have a great title, but the file name might be something like article, this, that. So make sure to change the file name before you submit as well. A lot of people tend to miss out on the file name, but don't do that mistake. Now, obviously, you have to attach your manuscript. That's very self-explanatory before you send in anything for publication. Now, declaration of originality or self-declaration is something, it's like a form that the publishing platforms do provide to the authors. It's just a simple declaration, or even if nothing's provided, you can write one for yourself. It's just 3 lines on which you confirm that whatever you're submitting is original, and you take full responsibility of everything inside the manuscript to the best of your knowledge. It's not plagiarized or something like that. Now, statement of purpose. Now, you see it in asterisk here. Now, that's because all of these things might be required somewhere, but at other places it might not. But these things are required everywhere, the first 4. So yeah, so statement of purpose is why you're submitting and how does your paper add any value to that platform. Cover letter is just your details inside a letter format. Now, copyright transfer is an agreement which you hand over before the publication process that confirms that you are vesting the rights of your submission to this particular platform, and they have the right to do whatsoever with it. However, most journals do vest the moral rights with you, with the authors, original authors. So that's it. And multiple email addresses, if do make sure that if the author, if the publication platform wants you to send a copy to this email, make sure to add them up in the email too. And supposing and assuming there's a publication fee, do attach a fee receipt of that you have submitted any processing or publication fee if there's. Now here are some most common publication myths which I had to address in this session. Firstly, a good journal always has an ISSN number. No, that's not the case. It's a myth. An ISSN number is just an identification code, and trust me, anybody who starts a website can get it, provided they meet a particular criteria, which is very simple. They just require. I have applied for an ISSN myself, so I know it very well. So it's a huge myth, and it doesn't intend in any way that a journal who has an ISSN number is a very valuable or respected journal. That's not the case. Now, a good journal is always free is a myth. Trust me. I do understand that most publications are free in law, and Harvard, Yale, these are publications are free as well. But there are times that some good publishers might charge some money for the publication of processing fee. Now, you're lucky that in law, mostly 80% of the publications that I've come across are free. And I never insist anybody to go for paid publications if that's not a very respected platform. Always start for free and start writing for free journals. Write for journals from universities like the NLUs, there's my UPS, General Global. There's a whole list at the giveaway. You can check that list out if you stick in. So make sure, but just in case you see that there's a very good platform where you can submit your manuscript and there's a fee, don't get intimidated, because this happens sometimes that some journals have subscription fee of some sort. Now that depends, the price depends on the platform, but there is a fee. Now, publication in a reputed journal, being the keyword here, is something I've seen across a lot of times. Now, reputed is something that is very controversial because nobody ever defines what is reputed. For me, reputed is something, a journal that has a very good editorial board, a well-defined editorial scope and policy, and who have actually added value to society by their writings, and they have a very thorough mode of reviewing, and they just don't publish anything that they accept. So that's why make sure that you go in for these publications at respected forums. Mostly universities, go for universities. They are free and they have a very well-defined editorial board. So they work hard and they try to publish what's best, what's in the best interest of their journal and as well as the university. Now, just in case you don't make it to an NLU journal, it's absolutely fine. There are lots of other options for you. So you don't have to rub your nose on the wall that you have to have an NLU publication. It's absolutely fine to get publications elsewhere, even at private platforms, if they are worth it. Now, some people consider that print editions are much more valuable than online editions. No, it's a myth. Even I would beg to differ that online editions have a wider reach, so that people who don't have access to the print version, they mostly have access to the online version, and it's easy circulating as well. So I would beg to differ that online publications in fact supersede print versions. Now, your work as an author is not over as soon as you submit your manuscript for publication. You have to follow up with the editorial board in a while. If you have not received an update, you can ask for one in a few weeks, let's say 1 week or so, and that's how the process goes about. And you have to, until you see your paper getting published on the website, make sure that you're in thorough and constant touch with the editorial board or the journal. So that's what you should always take care of. And secondly, the older the journal, the better it is. That's not how it works now, because trust me, a lot of new journals have suddenly come up, and they have had a very good impact on the legal fraternity. For example, I can't remember right, but it's General Global Law Review who just got Scopus Index. Now, it's not a very old journal, but it's India's first journal to get index Scopus. Scopus is the world's biggest database repository. Yeah. So it's by elsewhere. So yeah. So General Global Law Review is not as old as the other NLU journals, but this notion is slowly breaking. So make sure that you don't fall for it, that the older the journal, the better it is. But definitely, as a rule of thumb, it usually happens that older journals have a lot of value to it. For example, the Madras Law Journal is one of the only law journals in India that have equal importance as a primary source of law, and they're even cited in in courts of law. So yeah, so that's, but make sure to know the story from both ends. Now, international publications supersede national publication. That's not true. Some of you might be desperately wanting to have some international publication. That's absolutely all right. But just in case you don't get one, it's absolutely okay, and you need not fret about it. It's absolutely okay, because if you manage to get a wonderful national publication at a good respected platform, and suppose you compare it with let's say a small country like Czechoslovakia Law Journal or like Luxembourg Law Journal. So your national publication would be much more read and circulated among people. So that's it. And lastly, once your paper is published, I can do whatever with it is a myth, guys. As I said, the copyright transfer agreement takes a lot of rights away from you. Once your journal is published, your paper is published, you can't publish it elsewhere. That depends on where you have published it. They have a policy that you can't cross publish. You can't. And trust me, 99% of places have this cross publication policy that once you have submitted to us, you can't submit this paper to them. So make sure to take note of these things. And once it's published, it's definitely yours. The model rights are vested with you, but you don't have the right to do whatsoever you with it. You can't turn one publication into 5. This is not ethical in any way. So that's some popular myths that I've busted and tried to let you know about these. So guys, thank you for staying here. But let me tell you that this was merely the tip of the iceberg, and it's just simply impossible to cover every single thing of research paper writing. Although I've tried my level best to make sure that I've incorporated every single thing, but inside a 2-hour workshop, it's really not feasible for anybody to touch upon all important and vital aspects of research paper writing or citations. But you need not worry, because as I said, I'll be discussing about how to truly address this problem for once and for all. So let's see what we have. So we at Memo Pundits have a lot of courses. We have 4 running courses on our website, and we have this is our newest course of the lot. It's the certificate online certificate course on research paper writing. Now, why I'm mentioning it here is because I'm the consultant of this course as well. And now this course has a lot of potential, and I've personally loved this course, and I've helped curate this course a lot, and I've been through it. I've seen it. I go through it every single day, and trust me, guys, by far this is the best course on practical research paper writing that I've personally seen, because I've seen other courses, because once I was in my initial years of law school, I didn't have the thorough guidance on how to go about writing a research paper, and this course wasn't there. So I missed it, but thankfully it is there now. And for everybody of you who are here, I'll take you to a few basics of what this course offers, and you can see for yourself that what we have in store for you. Now, we also have this course on citation methods, just in case you want to go for this course. It's a very short course. You can even cover it in less than a week, or even in a few days if you wish to. But we have both these courses, and we have 2 other courses as well, which is on oral argumentation, memorial making. But since today our primary focus is on research paper writing, so these 2 courses go hand in hand. So we are primarily discussing these 2 only. So why should you enroll in these courses, right? This is your first question, right? So let me tell you, once you've been through this course, you will be able to write professionally any form of legal submission, whether that be blogs, whether that be articles, or whether that be research papers, if that's your calling. Now, about the OCC course, which is the online course on citations, you will learn about all the 4 methods of citations, even the Blue Book 21st edition, which is the latest addition to the Blue Book family, as well as SILC and uniform citations. Now, this is something all law students must know, and you simply can't miss out on it. Now, the RPW course, which is the research paper writing course, also mentions about how do you go about learning legal research in platforms like Manupatra, SCC Online, LexisNexis. And trust me, guys, no online course covers this thorough guidance on these trivial nuances. You simply can't find any other course with so much value. And you learn to write a draft research paper from scratch, right from the abstract to the introduction to, let's say, the research hypothesis, to the body, to the conclusion, to the introduction. Everything has been taken very well care of, and the course has been designed by experts and industry and people from the industry, legal industry. Now, not only this, we have all this course also covers all about the pre and post submission formalities, that how do you send an email, how do you to the editorial board, how do you follow up, how do you present a paper that you have published. And the best part about the course is that it's not only affordable, it's self-paced. That it means you can study at your own time, whatever that be. You are the master of your own fate here. And you, at the end of everything, there's a test and you get certified professionally. Now, if you want to take a look at what these courses offer, there you go. The RPW is the research paper writing course, and OCC stands for the oral citation course. And you can have a look in what both these courses entail. Now, trust me, a lot more of sub-modules exist inside both these things. So it's not technically possible to enlist all of this in one slide. But yeah, if you want to have an eagle-eye view of everything, here's what you should be looking at. Yeah, so here's the course content of both the RPW as well as the OCC course offered by Memo Pundits. Now, what are the perks of these courses, guys? Apart from the course, definitely. Firstly, you get 24/7 doubt clearance from experts, and you get a lifetime access to the WhatsApp group. So any doubts you might have, legal writing, legal research, citations, research paper writing, you have the opportunity to get them cleared through experts, not only for once or today, but for your lifetime. So what else can you simply be asking for? Now, experts they reply to all the doubts within 1 day or so, even less. And you have the option of getting any of your doubts, all of them cleared professionally with thorough guidance and knowledge. Now, every Saturday or Sunday, there are Calendly meets for individual doubts. Let's assume that you're not confident enough to ask, or you just not want to ask or get a doubt addressed in the WhatsApp group. You have an option to schedule an individual meeting with your expert on a Saturday or on a weekend, and there you can even have a telephonic conversation, or on a Zoom or Google meeting. You can just get all your doubts cleared professionally. So just in case you want to do that, you have the liberty to do it as well. And for the RPW course, you also get a privilege of getting your research papers reviewed. Since I am here right now, so I am reviewing the papers currently, and I put my heart and soul into reviewing every single paper, and I put hours of hard works into reviewing every single paper. So that's what the RPW course offers exclusively. And the research paper writing course also offers live webinar every Sunday on the nitty-gritties of writing research papers. And it's a 1-hour webinar every Sunday. We have it like 4 to 5 or 5 to 6. And what do we cover in the live webinars? We cover and touch upon all these topics and in thorough details. Now, some of it was included in the today's presentation as well, but it was simply not possible to entail all of these into it. So here is the live webinar series. Now, guys, if you don't take our word for it, here is what our students say about the course as well as me. for the RPW course, we have received a very profound and a very positive response, and people have loved the course, and apparently they have loved me as well. I'm very thankful to all my students, and I'm very glad that I'm able to help them to the best of my abilities or whatever I can offer. I'm very glad to be here today as well. So people have very nice things to say about the RPW as well as the OCC course. And Anshit Minocha happens to be a great friend of mine, and he studies from you. He's from UBS itself, so he has been through the course and he has loved it. And he was the ex-associate editor of UPS Student Law Review, so he loved it. He loved the course, and he was very happy to be here. So that's what it is, guys. Now, this is four courses, as I said. But if you are here today, I guess your primary focus is on research papers and citations. So you might go to the website and check these out. You have two other courses, guys. You might wish check that out too. Now, since you are here today, we have this exclusive opportunity for you, that we have some exclusive discount codes for you, which at very reasonable prices. Even the prices were reasonable previously, but they have been at an additional discount today. So here are the discount codes. You can just go to memopundits.com and see for yourself. And guys, group discounts are available as well, so you might consider checking them out. So if you wish to enroll in the research paper writing course only, so you can use the code RPW300, and the course, which is previously initially 2100, becomes 1800. That's 1800 rupees for you. Just in case you want to do the citation course, it's only 500 with the discount. And now this is the best offer that we have come up. We haven't had this bundle courses before, but now we have come up with the bundle. So if you wish to enroll in both the courses, it would otherwise cost you 2700. Guys, the 2700 is already a discounted price because the original courses scale at a higher price. So that's already a discounted price. But with this course, the bundle 200, you get both the courses at only 2000 rupees. And trust me, is very reasonable as if you compare it to any other course on legal research paper writing. And by far, this is a great deal, in my opinion. And trust me, guys, you'll learn a lot out of it. If you come across any issues, I'm always there. And being the consultant of this course, I am always more than willing to help to the best of my abilities. So make sure to go to memopundits.com and use these codes. And make sure to use these codes, otherwise you won't be eligible for the discount. So yeah. And if you have any queries related to this, related to the enrollments, just get in touch with Leapy and she'll help you out. Now, as I promised, guys, here is the giveaway for all of you. I'll just share it in the chat box. That would be my best shot at sharing this. Would that be? Now, as soon as I share this link, guys, we'll be open the platform for all your questions or all your doubts. So make sure that if you haven't think about anything, you can. And let me share this with everybody. So yeah, do check these things out, guys. I'm sure you guys will love it and will help you in the long run. So make sure to check these out. And that is all from my end, guys. I hope you guys have learned something new today, and whatever you learned will help you eventually in the long run. And if you wish to know more about research paper writing, then I strongly insist you to get enrolled in the RPW course. Or if you wish to learn about citations, then you have the OCC course. Or if you want to master everything, you have the bundle as well. Or if you just have any feedback related to it, please we are absolutely open to feedback. I'll be more than willing to know you if I've helped you. Please feel absolutely free to share your experience on your social media handles, be it any LinkedIn, Instagram, anything. If you wish to connect with me, if you want to drop me a personal feedback of how was it this workshop for you, you can follow me on LinkedIn here. It's here. You can either search for Indraneel Chakravarti or you can LinkedIn Neil here 7. So you can connect with me personally and give me your personal feedback. I'll be more than happy to know how I performed. And that's pretty much everything. So thank you so much for joining in. If you have any questions, please stay here. I'm open to all sorts of questions now. So let's just start with the question answers. I'll try my best to resolve any of your queries or doubts. So that's all. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely weekend ahead. Monday is a holiday to Janmashtami, so a very happy Janmashtami in advance as well. Now let's just quickly turn to the questions. So what do we have? Thank you so much, guys. Oh, hi Anjali. So yeah, so I can definitely suggest you a lot of publishing platforms and journals, but it's already included in the giveaway, so you might consider checking that link out. For your convenience, I'll just send that again here in the chat box. Yeah, just in case this doesn't work, try typing it out because it usually breaks in the chat. So just take photograph instead. Thank you, guys. Any questions, please feel absolutely free to shoot it up. I'll be more than happy to address any doubts. If you're writing a research paper, okay, Bandita, 1 second. If you're writing a research paper on XYZ, so it's mandatory to mention about the positive and negative aspect of the topic. Okay, Bandita, that's a great question. Firstly, that's not absolutely necessary. It's called, what you're instead referring to is known as a turntable analysis. So in these sort of papers, what authors usually do is they scrutinize the paper from both ends and then they stick to a particular stance. But you need not necessarily do it. You might stick to a single stance, but if you do that, if you choose the latter alternative, that you stick to one single stance, then make sure that you don't praise the other stance anywhere. Be critical towards the next one. So you have the option to either go for a turntable analysis or either you can stick to one particular analysis. That's totally up to you. Okay, so what is the ample time required to write a research paper? Now, this is something that's totally dependent on you, buddy. I personally think there's no justified or straightjacket formula for this. It totally depends on how your experience and your practice. Initially, it would take you like something like, let's say it might even take you like 30 days or 2 weeks for that matter. But eventually, while you start mastering this art, you can even write a paper in a single day. And trust me, I've done it, so I can recommend this to you. There's no particular timeline for anything. You are the master here, and you set your timelines. Okay. If a person is starting his research writing, what are the basic things? If a person is starting his research writing, what are the basic things to learn to get started? I don't personally think that you need to know anything particular before you start with the research. However, if you know about how to use legal resource databases such as Manupatra, LexisNexis, or these things, this will give you an upper hand, no doubt. And you must know how to learn and navigate through Google fruitfully. That's why we have developed this entire course, and we have stressed and emphasized so much on legal resource databases because not a lot of students know how to use it, and it's extremely vital in today's cutthroat competition to get separated. So yeah, resource databases will definitely give you an upper hand as compared to it. But if you are not adept at using it, try getting used to them, or otherwise you have your best friend as Google. Make sure that you need to learn how to cite things as well. That's the only two skills that you require before you start writing: research and the art of citations. That's pretty much it. Writing is something that will come naturally to you eventually. How proper citation exactly reduces plagiarism? It is the citing material not counted as plagiarism. Oh, that's a great question, Rohan. So you asked me that how citations reduce plagiarism. Now the thing is that sophisticated plagiarism checking softwares such as Turnitin or Scribble, they have an algorithm inside them that automatically recognizes and cross-reference the source. For example, if they find that a particular text has been copied into your paper and there's a footnote cross-referencing to that link, they automatically refer and know, and they just, with the use of AI, the software automatically recognizes that the author has cited that particular paper in his work. Or if you use quotes, then that's as well. So sophisticated plagiarism checkers know that the author has given due credit to the original source. So it's not counted as plagiarism. Okay, so we have more questions. Okay, so we have, do we need a support of a person who has many publications? Like, do we need to address him as author if you want to publish our first publication? Okay, I get you. So your basically question is that, do you need to co-author with somebody who has a lot of publications? No, that's truly not required. Your first publication should be something of your own solo effort, and you need not have anybody who has a lot of publications. That's absolutely irrelevant. All you need is yourself and a bit of guidance. So that's why we are here, and that was the whole point of this webinar. I hope you learned something out of it. And if you wish to learn more, you have this entire Rpw course, so do consider checking it out. And trust me, you need not anybody except for you. Okay, so Richa, you have a long question. I'll see what you have written. Hello, can you please state a remarkable difference between abstract and conclusion? Okay, so Richa, the thing is, then abstract and a conclusion are two totally different things. Now, the only reason that it might look resembling to you is that an abstract contains it's the crux of your main findings and solutions. I understand that you might be confused that what do we write in the conclusion? The primary difference is in the tone and the content itself. An abstract has a specified word limit of 200 to 300 words, and you have to focus on the main findings and the entire object of your research. In the conclusion, you don't mention that why you are conducting this study or what is necessarily your key finding. Conclusion has a different tone altogether. Your conclusion might be long, it might be elaborate, it might be precise, but in the abstract, you only talk about the main findings. You don't go about talking about the whole conclusion therein. You just give a gist of the conclusion to the author so that he's entailed to read more and inclined to read further. You definitely do mention what's the whole agenda and what is the whole crux of your submission, but you don't tell the author right away, of the reader right away, of what he's intending to look at. As compared to the conclusion, it brings a formal closure to your entire paper. All right, it sums up the previous arguments. It entails all the resolutions that you might have mentioned previously, and it talks about the way forwards and what we are looking at in prospect, not in retrospect. All right, so that's the primary difference between these two. I mean, the abstract and the conclusion. Which citation method is better, Blue Book or Scholar? Trust me, guys, no citation method is better or worse. It's just about how well practiced you are in either of two. If you have always practiced Blue Book, Scholar might look intimidating to you. If you have always seen Scholar, Blue Book might look terrible to you. So that's not how it works. Whatever citation you learn, and once you master it, it always is easy. No citation is hard or difficult. It's always the difference that make people scary. We only tend to fear things that we don't know or understand. So please don't worry, no citation method is better or worse. It's just about your personal choices and how well acquainted or familiar you are with a particular citation style. Genuine plagiarism checkers are an expensive tool. How to overcome such a thing? Now, trust me, this is actually an issue through. I know that genuine plagiarism checkers are expensive and they cost you a license, and they don't even provide individual licenses. Now, what you can do here is that you can consult with your university that do they provide a free plagiarism checker access to students. Most universities do provide students because they have to come up with their dissertations and research papers in their latter years of law school. So most universities do have an access to either Turnitin or Original. Or if they don't, then if you have a research society in your college, most colleges have one as well. For PhD scholars or LLM scholars, they have a subscription to it. So try communicating with the university if they have an access to it. If they have one, you're well in luck. But if they don't, then you have free alternatives. We are not that great, but if you are looking for a one-time investment that won't cost you a lot of money and only for once, then there's Plagiarism Checker X that costs like around 3,500 rupees, I guess. But yeah, you only have to pay once for it as compared to expensive 7,000, 8,000 rupees a month subscriptions. So yeah, so make sure if your college has one, that would be great. Okay. Okay, so if you want the giveaway link again, okay, I'll share it, no issues. Yeah, here you go. Okay. Saransh says, hi, I've taken admission this year in UPS Dehradun, BLB. So I want to ask that UPS provides subscription of Manupatra SSC Online, LexisNexis. Do we have? Yes, Saransh. UPS does provide the access to all three of these. We have Manupatra, we have SCC Online, and we do have LexisNexis. So you need not worry about any resource databases. However, we don't have an access to a plagiarism checker right now. But trust me, I'm working for the journal and I'm seeing this matter personally. So I'm trying. Initially, we had Urkund or Original, but I'm trying my level best to get Turnitin this time. So yeah, we do have the subscription to these as well as a lot of other resource databases as well, such as Westlaw and Heine Online and a lot of others as well. So Vishwendra Prashant asks, what do if you don't have access to Manupatra? Any alternatives? Yeah, Manupatra has a lot of alternatives. You have SCC Online, you have LexisNexis, and they offer trial packs as well. So if you don't have Manupatra, you need not worry. You can try out SCC Online, LexisNexis, or any other resource database, or you can create a free account at SSRM Heal Online. So, or Menley, even for that matter. So resource doesn't stop. Don't worry. Manupatra is just another resource database. Yes, Nishika, UPS does provide resource databases, so please don't worry about it. So I recently wrote a resource paper and oh, okay, Shubhangi. So your question is that you're paid that you have a paper publication in an international journal and you're considering to get it published, but there's a publication fee. Now, look, before you pay that fee, make sure that whatever platform that you submitted is a reputed platform and is not another scam or like you, because money is hard earned, right? So you can't just waste it. So just run a due diligence check that whatever the platform you have submitted a paper is credible and your money is in safe hands. All right. So you can try talking to the editors. You can try. Now there are a lot more factors, professional factors such as the impact factor of the journal, and there are a lot of other things that you might consider. So make sure that whatever fee is it. So firstly, you have to make sure that your paper is getting published and this fee is not non-refundable. For example, you submit the fee, you just pay the fee and your paper is not even submitted. So that should not happen to you. So run a check, get in touch with the editors if that's possible, contact the journal and make sure and do your own research here. And so that would be the best way to make sure that your money is in safe hands and you're getting a decent publication in your name. Vishwendra Prashant, is LiveLaw reliable? Now, LiveLaw is not really a journal, my friend, but yeah, LiveLaw is a very reliable source. And if you wish to publish in LiveLaw, this would mostly be published in their what column? Yeah, in their columns. Yeah. So yeah. So LiveLaw is a great publication. A lot of people do read LiveLaw, but it's not a primary source. It's still a secondary source as well. No publication is a primary source, to be honest. So yeah, LiveLaw, you can definitely publish in LiveLaw, but it won't be a paper. It should be a blog and or an article, because LiveLaw doesn't publish papers. So yeah. So how efficient are the free plagiarism checker websites? Not at all efficient, Richard. Trust me. These websites are they are just those things that if we don't have any options, these are the last resort. So these plagiarism checkers are not reliable at all. But since we can't do anything, these are our best shot at least knowing something. Yes, Saransh, UPS does provide this subscription to all students, irrespective of what year of law school they are at. Shivangi, they are publishing their volume 4. Okay, it's not the volume, but they might have previous volumes, so make sure that you run a thorough check of the previous versions and see who are the authors who are submitting these papers. And if possible, you can get in touch with the authors who have previously published in here. So that would be a great way for you, Shivangi. So can I get the link to the giveaways? One second. Yeah, sure, Nikita. I'll just send you the link. If it appears to be broken, try typing it out because I don't know. It's not going in a straight line. Yeah, oh, it works now. Okay. So Tarun asks that is Grammarly reliable for plagiarism? So Tarun, the thing is that Grammarly is not really a plagiarism checker. I know they have this option where they have this premium version where they offer. I have Grammarly Premium myself, and trust me, I don't prefer Grammarly plagiarism checker over Turnitin or Orkun. It is okay. It's better than the free alternatives, way better. But no, if you ask me truly, it's not really a great plagiarism checker, and it's only doable. So if you have Grammarly, you are better than the free versions, but you're not even close to the industry-leading softwares like Turnitin or Scribble or Orkun. So if you are looking to invest into a plagiarism checker, rather than Grammarly Premium, you can even you can try Plagiarism Checker X. That's still a better shot. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Shivangi, if I send a blog and article to Harvard, what is the procedure there and how in much time they will convey acceptance or rejection? Okay, Shivangi, before you send an article to Harvard, let me tell you that Harvard Law Review doesn't accept submissions from students. So there goes your chances directly. But there are some other sources that I have a Harvard publication myself. So there are blogs. For example, you can check the HJIL blog, which is the Harvard Journal of International Law, or you can check the HLR blog, which is the Harvard Law Review blog. And trust me, my Harvard publication took me 1 year and 2 months. That was the waiting period. So it's no joke. So if you're patient enough to do it, all the best. It takes time, guys, and trust me, I've been more than rejected than I've ever accepted. So yeah, it's not a cakewalk. Definitely, it's very difficult. Yale has now, as said, Yale Law Review does not accept student submissions as well. It's only possible in their blogs. You, if you're going for blog publication, I insist you go about George Washington Law Review or Cambridge Law Review, or even Cambridge has a good acceptance rate. So your chances of making it into the blogs are way more. And realistically speaking, journal papers, I don't think they don't even open papers, and the process is incredibly competitive there. So if these are your first publications, you should start avoiding international publications so soon. But yeah, if you have a notch for writing previously and you have published before and you're confident enough, then you can definitely go for it. It's no arrow is ever missed, right? It only gets hit somewhere else. So yeah, all the best, very best. Guys, do we have any more questions? Please, the floor is absolutely open to questions. I'll be more than happy to answer any question. Okay. We don't have any more questions. We'll wait for a few moments. And thank you so much for joining, people. It was great talking to all of you guys. And I hope